Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Missing the Mark podcast. Today's date is May 20, 2020. Unfortunately, we are still doing this podcast via Zoom, but it looks like things are getting kind of better throughout the world. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be back in the studio very soon, bringing you guys more GCF content. Before we jump into this, as always, make sure you're subscribing to the GCF YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss any video that we upload. But let's just jump right into this. My name is Hollywood Hogan, your host for tonight's podcast. Let's throw it to the Commissioner of the Gold Coast, Joseph Saint.
How we doing, guys? Once again, like Hollywood just said, it's one more week via, let's say, satellite. We're looking at ending this very soon so that we can get back to you from the studio. And like he said, it's real close, and that's kind of part of what we'll get to at the end here. We got a couple of really awesome announcements. But before we get too into it, take it away, owner.
How's it going, guys? It's RJ Wallace. You know, as Saint and Hollywood said, man, we're getting close. You know, shout out Governor Newsom and, you know, our local mayors for, you know, taking care of this thing and making sure we can do things in a safe manner. We have plans. We have some announcements at the end of the show, which we're all excited for company-wide. It's a great thing. But, yeah, man, let's get into it. We got our man, our ring announcer.
Hey.
Other producer extraordinaire, my man Quincy Jones.
Doing what I can. Glad to be back on the show. I know it's been some time. I've been working, gentlemen, trying to put in some work and stuff like that. But glad to be back, and definitely glad to be a part of this episode in particular with big news popping. I am your ring announcer, Quincy Jones Go, also host of the Quincy Jones Show. But today we hear about missing the mark, and I think we know how we're going to start this one off, gentlemen.
Yeah, man. Look, this has been an absolutely difficult year for pro wrestling, indie wrestling, all wrestling in general. 2020 has been absolutely fucking relentless when it comes to just bad news. And we got another one, man. Another unfortunate news. Kind of getting tired of doing this. It's an unfortunate situation. Us here at GCF want to pay our condolences and say rest in peace to Shad Gaspard, formerly of the Crime Time Players. He unfortunately passed away in the last few days. But I want to just mention he passed away a hero, passed away an amazing father, sacrificed his own life to save his own child. This is a man that also stopped a robbery a few years ago. This is the type of man that this guy was. And it's unfortunate to lose somebody so talented, so welcoming, so amazing. And you could just see from everybody in wrestling, they all had a story about this guy. But I just want to focus on him being an absolute hero. It's an unfortunate situation. It's another major loss. But I really want him to be celebrated because he deserves it. He deserves all the accolades, all the praise in the world, because it's hard to find human beings like that nowadays, especially in wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. This guy was a class act from top to bottom. You talk to anybody in the business, indie, WWE, around the world, they all have positive things to say about this guy. And we just send our condolences and our loves to the family, to everybody that's been affected about this. And just once again, rest in peace, Shad. It's just an unfortunate thing that happened. I wanted to ask you guys if you guys have any lasting memories. I know we always mention Crime Time on this podcast.
We do.
Yeah. So if you guys have any memories you want to give out there, please send it our way.
I mean, Crime Time was great at what they did before. Once again, I know that I've been very vocal about certain elements of Crime Time, but it wasn't on them. It was on WWE.
Yeah.
They were pure entertainment. Like you said, as a human being, no one has anything bad to say about Shad. Every story out there is about what a great guy he was. Even right before this started, I was reading Otunga's post that when David Otunga had a tryout, Shad went up to him and said, "I know you. Come with me." He's a tryout, and he brings him around and meets Taker. He brings him around, talks to Jericho, talks to Shelton Benjamin, talks to all these guys that he knows will be good for him so that his tryout goes well. He just went above and beyond and was just one of the good ones in this business. You hate to have to do this every single week. And this one's a little more painful because it's not the norm. It's not, we're used to coming on here, and sadly, the norm is to tell you that a wrestler passed away because of his past with drugs, his past with this. This man went out. His last thing that he did was protecting his child. He went out a hero, absolute hero.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, like obviously Crime Time, I had a ball watching Crime Time, doing what they were doing. Probably one of my favorite moments is when they had the whole interaction with DX and they were trying to get back into the arena. You had like HBK trying to I speak jive, you know what I mean? That whole
jive.
thing. Stuff like that was just hilarious. So, I mean, even though they did like Lita Dirty, they had Crime Time, auctioning off her stuff into the crowd and stuff like that. It's crazy because I remember one of the first stories I heard like post his like release was like he had some mix up with like something about a jaywalking incident. It was just, I remember all these people that were writing on him. I'm like, dude, this doesn't seem like him at all. And then, your credit, saying all this stuff that you hear about him stopping a robbery, and even now, as far as like still, even outside the ring, obviously with it being his family, like putting himself, other people before himself, you know what I mean? And it is hard to like, because this one does kind of hit closer to home. I don't want to say that this is like, I hate to compare it to like, obviously the Bryant tragedy earlier this year, but it's like, it sucks, you know what I mean? Especially hearing exactly like you said, it's not this, unceremoniously tragic traditional way of how they go, and unfortunately how we hear it. But it's like, I think the important thing, is, like you said, Hollywood, to just celebrate who he was, and you can it's hard to find a guy that's universally liked the way that he, everyone's been coming out of the woodworks talking, this guy up. I haven't heard a negative thing about him, and at the same time, I've never heard him say anything negative about anybody else as well, so, but yeah, man, unfortunately, just hope his legacy gets celebrated as is, a little bit more than just the Crime Time stuff, obviously, but, at the same time, for him to be remembered, that's just what's more important, and, thoughts and prayers to the family, of course,
Yeah, man, it's definitely unfortunate, like the way he went out, like just so tragic, how heroic, to go out, like, like that's it's kind of surreal, like how that happens, like like as a kid, the last memory of your dad is him saving you, and you expect him to just kind of, I read a tweet where it was like, man, like we're hoping, it's like some like heroics, and he's just messing with us, and he's gonna just jump out the water, and everything's gonna be all right. You want to hope those things too, just because of all the great things you heard about him. But I mean, it's very unfortunate. I saw like MVP, talking about him a lot, and the memories he was talking about with him, like a video that was going around was him and Shad watching Kofi win the title last night. And how big of a moment that was, for black wrestlers and that community, and the solidarity it showed, and a lot of wrestlers talking about the night before at Wale Mania, where Shad put Kofi on his shoulders and was celebrating all night, and like everybody just talking about like that was the last time they all really saw him, was in that moment of celebration, and how happy it was, and how he put a smile on everyone's faces every time you saw them, and he was just the nicest person you could ever meet. And, in this business, you don't meet a lot of nice people. People are kind of to themselves, and for themselves. You got those egos and personalities, but
absolutely.
People like that, like Shad from the dime a dozen, man. Like you don't meet many people or experience many people like that. So it's always good to cherish them while you have them, and cherish them while they're there. And it just sucks when they're gone, 'cause
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, again, it's just this year, man. It's been tough for everybody in the wrestling business. It's another unfortunate situation, and again, here at GCF, we send our condolences, our love, and just I really hope again he is celebrated. Just an absolute hero,
the
type of person and type of man you want in your wrestling company. Lead by example. Lead by the legacy that he left behind. That's all I have to say about that. Just lead by the way, the footsteps that he left. I mean, this guy did it every bright way possible. But yeah, let's jump right into it. I just want to get that out of the way before we get into all the wrestling, wide world of wrestling. As RJ hinted at, we have a huge, major announcement that we're going to air towards the end of the show. But let's jump right into this. First on the notes, Rey Mysterio's contract is expected to expire very soon in September. Both sides are still having contract negotiations, but they don't seem to be anywhere close to a confirmed deal. From what I've heard, obviously New Japan Pro Wrestling would be interested. AEW would be interested. The biggest problem with this, though, is Eddie's son, Dominic, is still training at the PC Center. So that's going to take a big moment for Rey, when he comes to make his decision.
I like how he keeps saying that's Eddie's son.
That's the one thing I won't break, man. It's Eddie Guerrero, and that is it, okay? Anyways.
Like I've said, I hope that is the ultimate payoff.
It better be. That's the only reason why I want Rey to resign, honestly. I would love for him to go.
So they finally do that angle?
Yeah, so they get a ladder match at some point where he screws them over. It needs to be the payoff of this whole storyline. But anyways, Rey Mysterio's contract up in September. I want to ask you guys, do you think he leaves, yes or no?
I think with obviously his son's future kind of more or less in the balance of WWE, because I don't think he would want to leave Dominic in the WWE system to navigate by himself. If Dominic wasn't a factor in this, I personally would love to see Rey in AEW, but not because they need the star power. But I know Cody has expressed wanting Rey in AEW, and obviously with him and Pentagon Jr. and the Rey Phoenixes of the world, there's a lot of great different matchups. I could see right away Rey Mysterio versus someone like Darby Allin would be insane. Rey Mysterio versus Jungle Boy would be great. That's just off the rib. But as far as it's hard because, again, I don't see him wanting to leave his son there, especially now because what I've been hearing is everyone's been staying the hell out of Vince's way lately.
Yeah.
I heard Drew, the way they handled the Drew Gulak thing was a little bit of a message sent. I don't know. I don't think Rey is going to be – I think he's more calculated being – he could obviously leverage his star power because, if he needs – they've been building Angel Garza. Yeah, they've been building Andrade forever. But I don't think he fully trusts those two right now. You know what I mean? He's still looking at Rey as his golden goose, and especially with the fact that they lost money, they already lost talent. I don't think Vince is going to stand that he loses potentially Rey and obviously other weird names to his competition right now. So I feel like McMahon's going to go all out to try to get him to stay. To be honest.
Well, Rey right now is also he's the locker room leader. If you take a look at everyone else, it's
very true.
Rey and then maybe Orton and Edge, who's not always around.
I was going to say consistently, probably it's going to be Rey, yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe Lashley, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Lashley.
Why stop? I was into it.
I think Rey sticks around, as you just said, for his son, but also further than that, I think, it's all his son. But I think it's because Rey wants his son to get what he didn't, which is Rey had to fight to get to this point. Rey would love for his son to start in the WWE and have that experience. Whereas a Mysterio could go make money worldwide, he knows that his son isn't going to make that WWE money anywhere else. And
that's true.
He kind of fight for it.
Yeah, he kind of is he has to give his son the rub a little bit, especially get that merch money. You know what I mean?
If Dominic uses the Guerrero name.
But Eddie Guerrero is my favorite father.
Better do it.
Or they can have just,
Chavo come back and manages Dominic.
Have Dominic just come out with, have him grow his hair out, hair versus mask match against his dad, retire his dad.
That would be awesome.
And then Chavo Jr. becomes Chavo Classic.
Chavito Classic Jr.
Chavito Jr. Classic. That sounds like a Carl's Jr. burger.
Yeah, it does. I'll take the Chavito Classic Junior Burger. Yeah. Yeah. Extra Latino heat, please. Yeah. I got it. I got you.
That was a good one.
I got what you're going for.
RJ, what do you think? You think he stays or do you think he goes?
I think he'll stay.
I think Dom becomes Kerwin White.
Oh, God.
His nephew or something. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, you were the caddy to Eddie, right?
Jesus. Yeah, I think Ray stays. I mean, Ray's pretty much built a Hall of Fame legacy in WWE.
I mean, he's been everywhere except technically no, yeah, because he weren't AEW yet. He was at All In.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then when he was at All In, that's when WWE's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Get him back in here now.
So, I mean, Ray's definitely blazed that trail as far as, you know, you can say Ray put the cruiserweights on the map in WCW. He was the face of the cruiserweights in WWE.
Yep.
He was essentially the first cruiserweight to win the world title, even though Jericho technically did, but we won't get into that. You know, and
beat the Rock and Stone Cold the same night.
Yeah, you know, so I think Mysterio will stay just because he'll want to coax, you know, his best friend's son into the business and, you know,
absolutely
make the Hall of Fame run.
There's no more Guerreros, you know, in the family business, so what better than, you know, the Eddie's consigliere, you know what I mean?
You gotta have the last Guerrero, you know, kind of bring it back in.
Get him under his wing. You know what I mean?
Mentioned this too. It's like I think he wants his son to have stability. And WWE offers stability. It offers the PC Center. I mean, there's a reason why.
That's very true, yeah.
The Rock's, you know, daughter's also there as well now.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the stability.
Even with terrible management, WWE does create stability. So,
yeah,
you gotta give it that.
And I can see him trying to work in in contract negotiations with WWE. I can see him trying to work something under the table for Dominic as well.
Absolutely.
All these things on the table. Yeah,
that's the bargaining chip right there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I think if any other company came out with another bargaining chip for Dominic, I could see AEW maybe even going that route as well. It just depends.
No.
A lot of factors.
I was going to say, I mean, they do have access to, you know, a few training centers. What's his name? QT Marshall. They were using his down in Georgia, right, for some of the tapings. So
yeah. When they were MIA in Jacksonville, they were at that gym. So they have the ability to offer.
Yeah. They have the resources if they really need to as well. I mean, I know that he's been training already, you know, without the resources of just the performance center already. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
I just
he lives in California, so there's schools everywhere.
I just think with AEW, they'll probably wait maybe a year or two to shell out another big contract just because
I think so.
We're paying everyone 6 figures in the beginning of the company anyway.
Yeah, and lost out on God only knows how much money.
Lost out on a lot of money. All their
I was supposed to be there, dude. That's why I was like, I guess I gotta pay.
I was trying to go to that Vegas show.
I'm like,
supposed to be getting ready for the break this week. But
dude, freaking $50 to watch it. What the hell?
You pay when you're paying 10 executives 6 figures, it gets a little costly, you know.
Yeah, but they're producers, RJ.
I mean, but still,
they have the producer role in their bios.
I was like, they're not gonna not get paid. It's TNT we're talking about.
Well,
I mean, they haven't been on TV in like what 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or the Bucks haven't.
We'll watch tonight.
Wow. Spoiler. I bring up the Ray contract.
Go home, so yeah.
Yeah, I bring up the thing contract expiring too, because Drew Gulak has been released due to him also contract negotiations not going the way WWE wanted. It was expiring very soon. They couldn't agree to terms, so Gulak released just recently after having the match with Daniel Bryan in this IC tournament, which I think is whatever. We'll see how that pays off in the long run. But yeah, Gulak released by WWE. Love to get your guys' reaction, and where do you think he will end up?
Is his contract on hold?
No, it's done.
No. I was going to say he doesn't have a no compete clause, so he's free to go anywhere.
Oh shit! Okay.
Saturday in AEW if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were already thinking that. I was like, I don't know why. I mean, I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't know if they.
I mean,
But
he's better off going to Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, but one of the other interesting facts about this is the fact that he was promised a raise.
Yep.
Because, he went from 205 to technically the main roster, and he was still getting his 205 live pay, and they just never, came through with the raise. So when he asked for it again, they kind of said no. Just said, all right, bye.
They said that they're not giving raises during this period. Like, are you kidding me?
So he pretty much
contract
brought
negotiation.
So the man brings the Cruiserweight Championship onto the main roster just for it to go to NXT, and then he can't get a raise?
Yeah. He was making 205 live money while putting on the match of the night against Daniel Bryan.
And for being on WrestleMania as well.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, and I think they brought him into NXT just so he can lose it to Leo, didn't they? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Didn't he lose it to Angel Garza?
No, he lost to Leo.
He lost to Leo, and then Angel Garza beat Leo. Cashed it in. NXT Money in the Bank style. Not really. Sorry, guys. No, but I don't know. I think Japan is probably a logical place for his style. I'm not mad if he wanted to go to AEW. I don't know where he'd fit in particularly. I mean, where I would have put him is I would have had. I mean, I don't know if Triple H has power like that, but I mean, it's technically a different show. I would sign him to NXT and have him put him with the Britam Brawlers, as they call them, Oni and Danny Burch. Just a bunch of hard-hitting, rugged guys. I mean, or even put him with Timothy Thatcher. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he particularly would bring to AEW. I love the PowerPoint gimmick he was doing. I don't know how he wasn't able to impress Vince with that because it was hilarious. His style was funny. But, I don't know, man.
He pulls a swerve and signs to Impact.
I mean, but he would fit, as much as it's a joke.
He would fit in Impact.
He would fit there. He would fit in MLW.
NWA, I could see signing him, too.
Yeah.
Oh, MLW would be great. He would join Contra.
He does wrestle that. Oh, that too. But he does kind of fit that NWA style a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I would
that's true.
say everywhere other than AEW for him is a better bet. But
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if they offer that money.
Yeah, and I think AEW would only have renters because they don't really have
a
real technical wrestler like that on the roster.
That's why I was thinking. I was like, there's no one else. I mean, unless he was the tag team partner that Sean Spears is looking for. I mean,
I just think that will be the most likely.
I forget Sean Spears is there.
Everybody forgets.
How could you? He's always there telling you to make noise. All the time. Placing bets with MJF.
Studio audience now. He's those.
He's very much into it.
Yeah, so we'll see where Drew Gulak ends up. My prediction is New Japan. I just think that's where we'll probably see him face Zack Sabre at some point.
I mean, he wouldn't be fighting anytime soon if that's the case, because
Yeah.
Avoid CZW.
Oh,
it's a licensing issue, guys.
He's gonna end up in Bears Wrestling, technically, 2 CZW something.
Jesus, man.
Whatever they gotta do to sell the clickbait.
Well, that's a wrestling company that probably won't survive 2020, but that's another story.
It's sad. Sad times.
Look,
this is the twilight zone for wrestling right now.
We all thought Ring of Honor wasn't going to survive, and then the season.
Well, I'll never say never.
Wait, what about us?
You thought Impact was like Dunzo years ago.
Well, I mean, that's the main thing. How many years has it been since everyone said Impact's going to die, and they just are the little engine that could and keep going?
Impact's not bad, though, to be honest. Impact.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
If that's your style, sure.
It's not bad.
Look, when you're bored and you have time at 3 a.m. to watch wrestling.
I got better things to do, man. There's a whole catalog.
I mean, that's not on my watch later at all.
Yeah, I would, I will always say that Impact has the talent. They've always found a way to have some talent. But,
They
yeah,
do,
I can't-
and that's the credit I'll give them because when I do watch it, it's for the people that I watch it for.
Right.
The Willie Max, the Chris. I mean, it's cool to watch people like the Chris Bays to give time and stuff like that. You know, Rich Swans and the North. Obviously, me and Ross.
The North, man. The North.
They're nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to the North.
Chris Bay, that's amazing that NXT and AEW didn't jump on that kid. That kid is super talented.
I heard he was getting some offers from all around, but
I mean,
yeah,
Cody dropped him several times
with the whole dashing thing. They had, I mean,
into him, like that was supposed to happen. In other contract news, this one's gonna bring a lot of joy to everybody here. The Undertaker has signed a 15-year deal with the WWE. Sometimes
ask Bret Hart how that 20-year deal worked out for him.
That was the first thing I thought about when I saw that. I was like, "Do you mean like is he trying to go for Bret numbers, or I mean, does he not remember?"
Wait, so does that mean
he's gonna have that
win?
phone call in the kitchen with Vince about how he can't afford the contract anymore?
Oh man! And then it's gonna be a fax from AEW coming in.
Does that mean? So does that mean Taker's going to win the U.S. title in like 5 years when he's? Is that what that means?
Let's talk about the reality.
Always the American badass. He's allowed to.
Did Goldberg already end his career?
Oh.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to watch Chapter 3 to figure it out.
Yeah, we got to watch Chapter 3.
But, I mean, like, it's weird because the reason why it was weird is because it came out shortly after the little, they always have a few quotes or a few, like, preview clips from, like, the episode before they release it. And they were talking about how, Undertaker was going on about his loyalty to Vince and how he would take a vote for him, no problem. Yeah. And then, like, next thing I hear was, like, 15 years. I was like, what? Like, I'm watching this documentary about you saying this is, like, your last ride. And then it's like, nope. I don't think there's a 15-year, like, completely active, like, in-ring.
Just a contract appearances.
Yeah. The reality is,
that's what I figured. But I think it's more or less to lock him in so he'll never, ever have to worry about StarCast ever again.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's smart to play your
cards.
Might
go the Flair route, dude.
Smart move. It was a smart move.
Might go the Flair route. Where's Jay Lethal at?
Did you guys watch Chapter 2, by the way? Of the last ride?
Yep.
I just thought it was, I mean, I don't want to say hilarious, but I guess kind of, it made me laugh because it showed Vince is an actual human being. When they asked him about, so how's the Undertaker meant to you in the industry? And he's like, can't do it, buddy. I was like, what? This guy is super emotional about Mark right here. I was like, all right, so I don't know. It was interesting. No. If you, I would suggest you watch it, Roscoe.
I'll watch it.
It's definitely one of the better shows, especially on the network right now, since we're all waiting around for more ruthless aggression. But they're selling all their rights to the other station. Yeah,
well, is that what they're doing? They're waiting to figure out where everything is going to be pretty much broadcasted from?
Probably. I don't know. They're just...
Because they had, like, 4 episodes, and then they were like, the rest is continuing, maybe, whenever we decide.
Have they released all the Thunder episodes on the network yet?
Or I don't think so. I think they're still behind.
I was like,
there's a few I wouldn't release.
Last I checked, they're up to like late '98, and I was like,
I mean, that's as far as they got with Sunday Night Heat, and I want the later ones with Raven on it.
I was like, I want from 01 to the end.
I want the flock. Give me some flock.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna give me Heat, give me all the shit shows. Give me Metal. Give me Jacked.
You want Shotgun Saturday Night?
I do want Shotgun Saturday.
What was the other one? Velocity.
Saturday Night Heat.
Velocity was the shit.
I loved Velocity. Velocity.
Jacked and Metal were Saturn's show. Every week, Harry Sky would come out there.
And we're talking like Saturn with the skirt, correct?
Yeah. Wasn't that where Moppy came about? Yeah, Moppy debuted on Metal, didn't it?
It was
got punished because of Metal.
Because he beat the shit out of somebody.
Because the guy knocked Terry off the apron, was a little stiff, and so Saturn shot on him.
No, he said, I'm blanking out, and I'm just going to beat the shit out of you. And that's literally what he did.
I love how we went down this route.
Right?
Like,
and you never know when one of our tangents will start.
I know. We went from Taker signing a 15-year deal to fucking
the Perry Saturn and Moppy.
Perry Saturn from Taker's 15-year to
Perry. It's 6 degrees of separation. It's all related.
Seriously.
It's all related.
So we'll see. I'm thinking he'll be probably wrestling once a year, as always, especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Taker, the name value.
Possibly twice. I can see him doing. I don't know what they're doing with the Saudi shows, but I can see him possibly twice.
They're planning to go Saudi in October. So
yeah,
man.
Saudi still got 8 years on that deal, baby.
Well, I knew that, but it's like with everything going on, I'm surprised that they're even like. I'm pretty sure there's a few superstars.
First off, you think Saudi Arabia cares about their citizens? Fuck that. They still got sports going on down there.
Do they? No, I'm not plugged into the sports scene, and the Saudi sports scene is not like.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get the Saudi game right now.
ESPN hasn't started airing the Saudi sports yet on the channel.
No, sorry, I gotta pay extra for that one.
They're not airing Saudi cricket games over there.
No, I gotta pay extra for that, bro.
They're busy with airing chess and video game tournaments and
competitive tag. It's been ridiculous.
I hear you. Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. So yeah, take her 15-year deal with the We'll see how that pays off eventually. In other news, I have some notes about the original Becky Lynch plan if Seth would have pulled out. Originally.
Have you guys seen that meme, by the way?
Yeah, the Dean pulled out of WWE.
WWE Mania.
Seth pull out.
Never pulls out.
Never pulls out. The original plan, though, was for her to face Nia Jax at Money in the Bank. And Baszler was going to win the actual Money in the Bank. And she was going to, stalk Becky throughout the summer until she finally
I honestly felt like that was the plan based on the promo she cut after Mania.
Yeah.
About, was it with the taste of defeat and the something of victory? Yeah.
If we're not being told, the plan was for SummerSlam, Becky to face Nia again, and Ronda to return, beat the shit out of Becky.
Shayna.
That was supposed to be the plan.
But does Shayna need Ronda to beat the shit out of Becky to beat her?
Yeah, but they want to bring Ronda back as soon as they can, especially right now.
I guess. I don't know if we would want to see her. I'm okay if she's done.
Have to now since Becky's gonna be out.
Yeah, or you know what they could do? It just sounds real foreign. Is build up some stars they already have on the roster. That'd be wild, right?
Crazy, right?
Crazy concept here. Just spitballing, don't shoot the messenger. But I don't know.
No, you keep your same three. You keep Charlotte. You have Asuka.
It's not Charlotte experience is not working, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Don't even get me in Hollywood. Yeah, started on Charlotte and the rules of this stupid ass whatever they're invitational. It's already worn out.
Yeah, dude, they capped it off by saying that the invitational for each superstar on either brand, they can only visit the other brands 4 times a year.
That individual, 4 times a year?
4 times a year individually. Okay, so Charlotte's the NXT Women's Champion. She's been on Raw 4 times already. She's been on SmackDown.
So,
SmackDown again this Friday, and she's on NXT 3 times already. So there is no cap off. There's just
that's the only thing with her is what is her show of origin now that she's the champ? Because she was on Raw.
But you won the Rumble.
And because you're not saying it, she's burning through freaking invitationals like crazy.
If you're the Rumble winner and you choose another show's title, you go to that show. So that's
how it works.
They just ignore it and are claiming that
you're that show's champion.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why. So we wouldn't count her NXT appearances. Then we'd only count the times that she appeared on Raw or SmackDown so far, right? Technically. Yep. But that's still almost fair, right?
Since she's been champion, she's barely been on NXT. That's
what they're trying to do is try to add importance to her as NXT champion by her SmackDown Raw women's talent. so people would have any interest in watching her on NXT. But she's not drawing numbers. Like I said, she's been getting the least amount of views per matches when you look at the numbers. Like on Raw, they get the lowest numbers whenever she steps out.
But all this while NXT is not just building their women's roster, but they keep having all these number one contender matches when their champion's not even on the show.
Well, I mean,
that's what I don't get.
The thing that bothered me was how the whole Io Shirai thing, it was like for nothing. Just for her to pull out a candlestick that had nothing to do with any part of the story at all.
And now she's facing Rhea Ripley tonight.
Well, I'm assuming that's probably going to lead to a triple threat. I'm
hoping, but I feel like Io deserved that one-on-one head up, straight up.
Wait, so Io gets a triple threat, but Bianca Belair didn't get one at Mania? She don't even go there anymore, bro. That's wild.
You got the call up. Kiss of death getting called up.
Are we going to talk about the Viking Raiders at all today?
Can we not?
Yes, that's why I'm asking, because it's just
ass about the
garbage. Yeah,
but that Axe story comes.
It's garbage. It's Axe season, fam.
Axe season, bro.
Come on, man, that was such horseshit. Like,
dude. Like
the main roster tag division.
I do. It's like it's everything the Revival we're talking about right now. It's like
everything that they mentioned on that podcast with Jericho. You're seeing it each few weeks with the Viking Raiders, and it's ridiculous, man.
And then when you have Austin Theory getting kicked out of one faction
and joining another faction in the same place,
and then joining,
but he is a much better fit as a disciple.
As a disciple. But damn,
are you saying because
you can let that play out? You had to do that.
Are you excited? Is it because he wasn't a Latino? Is that what you're trying to say?
I was kind of
I'm sure he's been in enough.
Like,
but
bring back the LWO.
But the Austin Theory name actually works well with everything they got going on. So I'm not mad at it, but it's like, why didn't you guys say this the first time?
So does Seth start a turf war with Andrade? That's what I'm asking.
Why you gotta say it like it's a turf war? Like they're gonna bring back the dude that stabbed John Cena?
Jesus?
We have one more guest joining us.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, TJ Suave has joined the Missing the Mark.
TJ Suave.
Hell yeah.
My brother.
Oh, they were not click. Okay, there we go.
There we go. There you are.
Hey,
DJ.
Yeah. Too late to crash this party?
No, you just missed out on us talking about Becky some more, and
we still talk about Becky.
I mean, we talked how Seth forgot to pull out.
I tried to reach out, and he wouldn't do any of that mama porno. So there's always a market.
There is always a market.
It's a category. It's definitely a category.
Sometimes you step away from the fog and you pop right into the Prego.
Well, that brings me to Burnett calling out Becky and Dana Brooke.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering if you guys heard about that Dana Brooke stuff, but yeah.
Dana Brooke too.
Dude, do you know what he said about her?
Yeah.
He said like her face.
Well, before anything,
yeah.
Cornette mocked someone's looks. Jim Cornette is mocking how someone looks. Let's be real. Like, you little fucking troll. You piece of shit, waste of human existence. You look like the Mole Man, and you're gonna mock a diva of how someone looks. Oh my god, you fucking trash.
Well, that kind of sucks because I was thinking of sporting like a bright red jacket and like a bright yellow tie. No shirt. I'm keeping the chest, but I'm going to have a yellow tie. And I'm going to carry around a badminton racket just to change it up a little.
Change it up a little.
Spice it up.
And then I'm going to bring in the new Midnight Express. Are you guys ready for that?
Yes.
The newest Midnight Express.
The newest of all expresses at midnight.
Gun's not doing anything anymore, right?
Oh, dude. Hey, honestly, he's riding on the road momentum off the dark side, so he may be looking for work.
Yeah.
There you go.
Probably.
He's not going to say no to the chest hair, but I digress. I don't know, dude. Like, first of all, like Jamal or Roscoe, I know you didn't hear it. He said something about what her face looked like it was on fire, and somebody put it out with an axe. That's what he said.
That about
Dana Brooke. Yeah, dude.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah,
this is when you call Dave Bautista to fuck him up.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
where's Drax?
Yeah, again, I still don't know why we're giving this asshole clout. I just don't get it. It did not matter in the year 2000.
Because he's dedicated his life to the business, damn it. You've seen him on Dark Side. He says it every time he shows up.
Yeah. He's a historian.
I don't even care about his opinion on Dark Side either.
This is all I ever lived for.
Yeah, I gave my life to wrestling. 40 years of my life, I gave it to wrestling. I was a promoter, an announcer, a janitor, a booker, on and on and on.
Ring rat.
That's what I did.
A ring rat.
Dude, you know damn well that voice he's supposed to be left Russo is bullshit.
At no point in the history of wrestling were you ever relevant to this business. Ever. You are a joke. You are a blight on wrestling. Your goddamn tennis racket would not get over in any era. You piece of shit.
I'll admit his explanation for the racket, I would have never got off of the way he was. Like, when I heard the story, I was like, oh. I was wondering what that was about, but okay.
What was his explanation?
I loved it. He just said it was supposed to be like a representation of him going to like being rich and having like access to like a private like tennis court, like that. You know, this whole like sweater tied around the neck sort of shit. You know what I mean?
But the rest of his appearance does not give you that.
No, especially, I mean, it's funny because this is coming from a guy with a heavy country accent, and you know what they say about country accent, you know what I mean? So it's like, no, I didn't get that from you at all. But I love when I saw you with Owen and Yokozuna. That was cool. Other than that, you know.
He was pretty much the sleazy lawyer from Vice City.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, dude. Yeah. He was like a mix of him and Sean Penn from freaking
yeah,
damn.
I don't want to stay too long on the Cornette thing.
Yeah, sorry.
That dude does not deserve that mention.
But yeah, what he said about Becky was ridiculous. I mean, no one else even shared that sentiment. Like, dude.
His opinion shouldn't matter at all. And Dana, bless her for defending Becky, but don't give that guy more attention that he needs. You're playing into a game. This is what
she did. Yeah.
He needs to have a topic on this shitty podcast. So that's why it's like, I don't want to give that guy any more attention.
Yeah, no, I don't even know.
I mean, it's already is what it is. In other news, Devon Dudley has announced that he's officially retiring from in-ring competition. I don't know if that. I mean,
I was just saying, is
that news?
I don't know what he said, but
I kind of thought. Yeah, I thought he was an agent for a while now. Maybe he didn't make it official. I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Damn. So that means no Aces and Eights reunion, like whatsoever, like ever.
That means if anyone that means nobody can ever ask him to get the table, and he's gonna take that shit ever again. He's like, "What the fuck you say to me, God?"
We can't even bring Pastor Devon back. What was this?
Reverend Devon.
Reverend Devon, thank you.
Devon?
And then call up Batista.
We gotta get Deacon with the box.
Yeah, chained around his neck.
Pick up a collection, you know what I mean?
Pay your tithes.
All right, in other news, let's just throw this one out there. Look, we're going to get into the Owen stuff. Don't worry. I'm leaving that for last because that's probably going to start the biggest discussion of this show. But I'm going to try to get these quick ones out of the way very quickly. Vince McMahon is attempting to buy back the XFL from bankruptcy.
I heard about this.
So XFL reached the third time the shot, I guess. So he's trying his best. Apparently, he's the leader to buy the XFL back, unfortunate as that is.
Yeah, because nobody else wants to buy that. Are you kidding?
Because nobody wants to see it.
Like, I feel bad for the amount of like money lost and like just I don't know. I saw people that weren't wrestling fans that got excited for the league, but I don't think they really had a good idea about what they were about to witness.
And like,
I don't know.
Isn't he still like in an active
Yeah.
lawsuit?
He's getting
So why
with
is he
what's his name?
Doing him.
It's I don't know. It's because the way that I read it was like he's trying to like secretly buy it back, and I'm like I could just see Vance at like an auction with like a fake mustache and a trench coat. Like, I'll buy it for $10,000, damn it! Like, I'm like, bro, like just leave it alone. You're not like you tried the boxing, you tried the bodybuilding, you tried the brawl for like leave it alone. Just stick to wrestling, and your logic for wrestling is hanging by a thread as of late. So just stick to what you have. Like, come on, man. Maybe if you,
I'd definitely rather see Brawl for All come back than another run.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if I had to pick between the two, yeah. But I mean, am I happy? No. Do I want either to happen? No. It's like the best of two evils, really. I mean,
it's like
that's Austin pulls that gun to your head. You don't know it's the big flag yet.
That's yeah. It's like pee myself in front of the public. Sure. Oh, and it's a fake gun. Damn it, I'm double fucked. It's like no, man.
You're like, well, I guess the XFL's coming back then.
Yeah.
I mean, only if they bring back the nicknames this time. They got to do it right.
Yeah, we'll see how they do. He tried to go too professional about it, but
he hate me back. Bring he hate me.
And then Vince has to be like an on-screen like evil commissioner for the league.
But they need to do commission because the next one is.
You all remember way too much about the XFL.
I know. Yeah. And other news: Ember Moon is fearing her career is over due to a completely ruptured Achilles injury that she suffered quite a while ago. It wasn't anytime soon, and she's still feeling the lingering effects of that. She was on WWE Backstage. If anybody watches that, apparently nobody does though. If you look at the ratings, but apparently she is very, very fearful of her career being over, which would be a huge loss for that division. It's already very depleted.
Oh, 100%, dude.
As it is at this point. But Ember Moon, torn Achilles, that's not easy to come back to, but I think she could do it. I've seen other athletes.
Yeah, I think if she has enough time to rehab and doesn't have the pressure of having to come back because of a freaking contract over her head.
Exactly.
Well, and let's be real, it's a whole different, the fact that Edge made a return, stem cells are a whole different beast right now. You don't know what you can come back from anymore. You've seen Daniel Bryan, you've seen Edge. Nash is, doing these things. He's saying he's got feeling back in his neck for the first time.
All right.
He's stronger than ever.
There's not enough stem cells in the
next Royal Rumble. You just wait. Next Royal Rumble.
Until he gets actual robotic legs, I won't believe it.
He's Super Shredder. It's gonna be okay.
Oh shit!
That's his final gimmick.
Honestly, I gotta give it to Saint here. I'm not. It's in the news, my ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So to specify, it was during a 24/7 title chase segment that she ruptured. So that's fucked even more, dude. Like, it's like not even what she would have wanted to do. If she had to pick what she was doing, when that happened, it's like, shit, dude. Or
a worthless title that's not being defended. They keep saying Rob Gronkowski is the longest reigning 24th champion. Like, that means anything.
I was hoping they would retire it, like, the minute he went back.
Yeah.
No, they
just pull a cruiserweight, like, hornswoggle moment and just quietly retire that title.
Vince is smart enough, though, to know, unfortunately, as it says, he knows the NFL propaganda that he can use that shitty title on his.
Well, yeah, but Gronk has to know that if he pulls some shit, the NFL is going to suspend him. Like, they don't want this shit on their
No, they don't.
I don't know. He's best friends with fucking Tom Brady. That dude can get away with anything at this point.
You goddamn right.
Without a racing breath.
Stick your tongue a little further up that man's hole, why don't you?
He loves it up there. He loves it.
All right. In other news, this is a very juicy rumor that I've been told behind the scenes. It's also kind of making its way around the internet. So obviously, we talked about this last week. Sting does not have a working contract with the WWE anymore. They've also stopped trying to make a Sting toy that they were in manufacturing. And
wow. So it's real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no longer happening.
What era of Sting?
Like what
That's
toy?
highly important.
Buried by
Like
Triple
if you were
H.
about to get another Wolfpack Sting,
was-
you're about to be real upset. Is what you're
It's like
saying.
Surfer Sting.
It was the buried by Triple H era Sting, so it's fine.
So
So
balding.
yeah, the whole line all the way over here.
Fucking
All the
face
way
paint
put
half
back.
off his face.
Just peeling, just
Yeah, the
pieces
smears on the forehead.
flapping in the wind.
It's peeling off halfway
Fucking-
through the match.
Fucking neck hanging.
Jesus.
Turkey necks, just gobbling. Anyways, go ahead.
What the fucking Steve
Man is trying to break some
Damn,
news.
Damn, man. Trying to get into this very important rumor that's probably not going to happen.
Sorry.
Sources, look, Sting is no longer having a working relationship with WWE. So y'all know how Chris Jericho has been bringing out a baseball bat the last few episodes of Dynamite?
Yeah. A lot of people have been saying that too.
This Saturday, during this football field stampede wrestling match with the Inner Circle and the Elite, that baseball bat might be there for a reason. And the rumor has it Sting might be appearing towards the end of that match. Only this is the TNT thing more than the AEW thing, from what I'm hearing. And that's why the baseball bat was featured to begin with. That's why they're building towards the baseball bat even tonight that we're using it. And obviously we know that's Sting's weapon of choice. I just don't think it's coincidence. Kind of makes sense just from the booking standpoint, not commercially standpoint.
I would actually be down for a Jericho Sting match. That's one of the matches that I didn't know I wanted. But hearing that, I'm kind of like, nah, I'm down for that.
Jericho would make, I mean, and no disrespect, he would help make Sting look good. And,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't kill him like Seth did.
Yeah, 100%. No, but it has to be said, though, like, for reals. Like, that was ridiculous.
What if he brings Sting in with him, though?
If we
would be a
heel
twist.
Sting, siding,
Like a heel Sting. Or Joker Sting.
Does Sting come out of the rafters?
There are no rafters.
After the Owen Hart documentary, I think
Probably
not.
not, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But then you had Randy Orton choking Edge in a certain lifting receptacle. But anyways,
so we'll I'll die laughing if they put Sting with Kenny as a tag.
Honestly, it would be cool if Sting like managed Darby, and not even like I want to see it, but because I know Cody has said more than one time on like commentary that Darby reminded him of a young Sting.
And I say this every week. That's just such overkill of AEW being like, we have tons of managers and they're all former wrestlers. Like that's really
not
wasting.
Not even just former wrestlers, mostly former WCW wrestlers.
Yeah.
Except for Jake the Snake.
Jake, I mean, Jake's been there, but yeah, he's not a WCW guy per se.
But giving Jake and Arn Anderson a segment tonight, it's just.
Look, it'll be interesting. I mean, I could see it working both ways. I could also see Sting not showing up at all. I just thought it is interesting that randomly. I
think it's too soon if he does.
It just weird that Jericho is randomly using a freaking baseball bat. Right. It would never featured.
It is kind of weird. And then like I felt like he flubbed his promo last week when he was like trying to introduce the name of it because he just said it was Floyd, and then it was just like an abrupt like. End of the promo. It was like it sounded like he was trying to say something else, but like totally forgot or didn't get it over. I don't know. Like it's when you look at it, who else has used the belt before, and who's I mean, not the belt, the bat. No one's used it before Sting. I mean, that I can remember. No one's used it after per se. You know what I mean? That I remember.
Screaming.
What about that knuckleball guy?
No, he had like a hockey stick, bro.
The Brooklyn Brawler.
Did Brooklyn Brawler have a bat?
In the beginning, didn't he? At one point.
Possibly Rebo Man because he comes up. Conan.
On Pat Patterson.
Oh shit!
Ooh.
Boom! That's the next Dark Side of the Ring.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
shit.
Saturday. Just know we'll see where that ends up. Like Saint said, Jericho Sting. I'm kind of interested in it. And again,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a W thing. It's more of a TNT thing. They want to get the guys that they've had. I mean, shit, they had interest in Goldberg in the beginning as well, and that was more TNT than AEW.
Oh, fuck no.
You want to know what they need to correct, though? You get Jake out of there in his little mini feud with Arn. You know who you bring in? Daniel Tosh.
Yes.
Daniel Tosh against Arn Anderson. The payoff.
And especially if they bring Sting, in too, yeah, hell yeah, let's get it all. Let's get it all done. Let's get it all done.
Yeah.
What a callback.
The surface thing.
No, but it's yeah.
We will see this Saturday. Also, one more side note on AEW. I would love to get everybody's prediction of who the mystery ladder match entrance would be. We'll start with you, Saint.
Honestly, I don't know. Because we've kind of been talking this up. I don't know what other money offers they have to offer anybody to be too much of a shocker. I mean, even though we already talked about it, a Drew Gulak appearance wouldn't be bad just for the name of it all during this week, just to prove a point. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of blanking for that one.
RJ?
Yeah, like I'm kind of stumped on it. I mean, I guess I would say Drew Gulak because, I mean, other than that, I don't know who else is secretly signed or has signed that hasn't been revealed yet in AEW. I mean, unless it is like I doubt it's just gonna be like some random dude on the roster, you know. So
Right.
it has to be something pretty big, especially for this pay-per-view since it's essentially one of their big shows. So I mean,
and the other thing is,
I'm guessing Drew Gulak.
I don't think anyone is able to fly in quite yet if they're trapped. So I think that rules out a Pac or trying to think who else was stuck in like Mexico. I don't think Penta's going to come
not
out
yet.
yet.
Well, I mean, fuck, man. Ray may have gotten injured on tonight's episode of Dynamite. He took a pretty nasty bump outside of the
As he always does.
Yeah, so
Shit,
maybe
dude.
kind of just find a way to get a private jet to Penta just to take Ray's space because that's probably not happening anytime soon.
Wow.
PJ, what do you got possibly debuting?
Shockmaster.
Yeah,
Dated mask and all.
I mean,
Superman.
if we're going for the TNT bag, fuck it, Glacier.
oh,
I mean,
no.
he was already there, wasn't he?
He was on the first pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Mang. And the rest of the Dungeon of Doom. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. Because I don't want to say it's anyone that just got released because I'm pretty sure not everyone is done with their 90-day yet.
Right.
So it's like, as much as I would be like, oh, maybe someone like Aaliyah Rush, but I don't even. I don't know because I don't think Zack Ryder is able to show up. I don't think it's been 90 days.
No, I don't
yet.
think they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Carl Anderson or
I
don't feel they would.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I was thinking Eric Rowan could be like, or Eric Redbeard, which is, I don't know why I'd go back to that name.
Right. That's a horrible name.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe someone like Pac, only because we haven't seen him and I know the travel issues. But, I mean, we just saw like pretty much everyone that was pretty much locked down in New York all at once in the same. Like, we haven't seen Private Party and P&P for weeks, and so now they're like on the last two shows back to back, you know. So
well, that's the thing. Like I don't think it'll be anybody that we already know is in AEW just because they would have already announced it as it is. The fact that they're making it a vacant superstar makes me think it's somebody
that's coming in.
Yeah, with some importance. If I had to guess, I do believe it's going to be Brian Cage. I do think with the rumors.
Whoa, that's good. I forgot about that.
Yeah, with the rumors of him moving Impact, from what I was told, and I know I hate to give him a shout out, but because SoCal Uncensored kind of ruined the idea of him going there, and they kind of got into a beef with his wife,
Yeah, I remember that.
That kind
Dude,
of
I was watching that live. Yeah, that was
kind of ruined the
insane.
original
That was
idea
crazy.
of Cage going to AEW. So they kind of waited it for a little bit to just kind of lose steam, so it's not like immediate debut. So if I had to guess, I would think it would be Brian Cage or maybe a surprise, but I highly doubt it. Maybe Marty, but that's just maybe because I know there's a little bit of a discussion with Marty and
I mean, obviously he's not doing anything right now. Ring of
That's
Honor is
big,
on
yeah.
a hiatus. That
I
would be
mean,
very cool.
I was thinking with possibility. I mean, I don't think they would. It's just weird that it's 9 people.
that's a lot.
You know, so that's why I was like, I mean, maybe they would have. I doubt it, but the revolt make it even 10. But I doubt that's how they'll have them come in. You know, because again, I'm thinking about who is available, who has a contract that would enable them to be able to show up.
Yeah.
And Marty's probably one of the only other people. You know, everyone else is kind of locked up in their own matches for the night.
That's why it fits Cage the most, I think, because he's been off of Impact for a hot minute since what?
Yeah,
the title. He's been gone.
Yeah, probably since Tessa won the title. Yeah.
I know he's had an injury, but yeah, I know he's been also laying low for a while because I mean, a lot of people kept thinking he was going to be coming back to Impact, so no one really knows what the deal was with him.
I would put my money on Cage, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off. It does add intrigue. 9 people is a lot, though. I don't think I needed both members of SCU.
That's why it was weird to me that they were splitting them up in the same match. I'm like, unless
that didn't make sense to me at all. It just
unless because a lot of times they use multi-man matches to sow different seeds for different storylines going forward. So maybe there's something they're going to be planning for SCU to split up or something in that match. Who knows? Like.
I don't know. That would be weird because they are eventually going to bring in trio titles, and I would think you would keep.
I don't think they need them. I mean, it's not that I don't want to see it.
So overplayed. If you had trio titles, then you should have not done regular tag.
Like, it's not that I don't like the idea because they have plenty of trio teams in there. So yeah, I would give other people stuff to do too. But if they really have a tag team division and it's already stacked as is, I don't think they need to add another additional.
No.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like the heavyweight tag team and the junior heavyweight tag team from New Japan. It's like,
I'm a fan of trio titles anyways. It just doesn't seem necessary.
No.
But the fact that they're making
they only got over in Mexico. They're not even over in Japan. You can't do those type of
But Japan did the same thing as AEW where they put all these fucking trios together and then you needed it.
Yeah.
And that's what AEW is fucking themselves against the wall that they're putting Pop with Penta and Ray. It's like, you don't need that, but they're doing it.
That would be very hard to find a team of 3 people consistently battling it out for titles.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like
one-on-one. It works when you have like the Freebirds rule.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
but I don't. It's just too hard to group that many like triple.
Yeah,
triple.
I think it may not be. I mean, it could be potentially how WWE was doing with the Shield, where they were just freaking putting any 3 man teams together to try to beat them. So I don't think that they'll have a shortage on people they could choose from, but I'd admit it probably get pretty pointless after a while or just tiresome not to figure out why these 3 guys. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's also kind of overloading yourself booking wise. Like
that's what I was thinking.
You have to throw 3 random people on a team.
Yeah,
and have to make it make sense.
100% every time.
Yeah, and then you're adding another
division
title.
Pretty worthless at that point if you're having like 3 paired in 2. Obviously, I mean
exactly. Yeah,
it's just a bad booking decision. But the way that they're like, you have the Dark Order, you have the Elite, you have Pac, Penta, Phoenix, you have SCU. It kind of just feels like the writing on the wall.
I mean, they even have Butcher and Blade and MJF. I guess if he's gonna. I don't know what's up with them, but
that's just too many titles too. You're already doing
Best Friends and Orange,
Nightmare Collective. There's a lot. There's a lot of trios that they can do. So that's why I just think at some point you'll probably see that in the long run. But let's get into the news that we've all been waiting for. Saving the best for last. I know this one's gonna get fucking toxic real quick, man. So bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. Dark Side of the Ring. Last night, the Owen Hart tragedy, Owen Hart situation. Man, watching it, I knew it was going to be pretty damaging for WWE, but my take from it, I thought it was even worse. Just the way they presented it. For presentation-wise, it's very easy to be like, wow, screw Vince, screw Kevin Dunn, screw the WWE. The clips you show that he was on, the pictures they showed, man, it was very tough to watch that. And part of me, man, for a long time, I was like, they should honor him. But now I'm kind of on the side where I'm like, I can't really blame her for mourning the way she wants to mourn. If this is the way she feels is right, I can't be somebody that's never been in that position and never wants to be, knock on wood. Yeah. I can't give her shit for saying, I don't want my husband to be honored by a company that essentially she blames him for killing him, but then also had the match continuing with his blood on the mat, not changing. Yeah, that was saying that they could feel the crack in the ring.
Yeah, dude.
That to me was the most damaging thing from the entire episode. That fucking sucked.
Because the way that, I mean, I think the way that, like you said, I don't know if it's the way they presented it, yeah, but I think it was important because all these years, all we had was the WWE side of it. And then a few choice wrestlers who were there that night that tell their account of the horrors of that night, right? You know, I read Nick Foley's book, so he talks about it a lot. There's a lot of, I mean, The Godfather talked about it. I've seen a lot of different interviews where people talked about the energy of that night. But we've always seen, like, WWE kind of take this whole approach where it was like, you know, Owen would want the show to go on, you know what I mean, type of thing. And that's how you kind of just, like, left it alone because it's sensitive as is. But then, yeah, diving back into it and getting all this new information from the people who rigged it were freaking people that weren't the same guys as last time. And the clip, how small the clip was and showing the amount of, like, small amount of pressure that it would take to even release a person while, like, not even being fully, you know, mounted for, you know, just – all these things, it really did paint WWE in a horrible light, especially, you know, hearing the blood and the, you know, the dip and that sucked to hear, you know what I mean? And the stuff with JR having to, I mean, JR is obviously not the biggest victim out of this, but I felt for him the same way when they went over the screw job with, like, Hebner. And kind of the shit that he is still dealing with, you know, even though it's already gone. Like, JR, he's gotten so much shit for that call, but he's like, he's stuck doing his job because he's there on the air. And
yeah,
it's just, you know.
He held that card together without any information.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I don't want anybody in that situation to realize a guy is, like, wondering what the hell is going on. To be in your ear, Kevin Dunn, like, oh, he's Ben,
and then 5, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then even when they showed, like, Jerry, and they talk about how white he looked, and you see it, and you're like, damn, this is stuff that you don't notice when you're younger and watching and trying to understand everything that's going on and what's real and what's not. Of course, it's a wrestling show, but you don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? But I have to say, I'm on the same side of the fence as you are as far as, you know, not needing to be honored by WWE. I mean, even his son had said, like, you know, it's not even like an actual physical thing, like a place or anything that they would really honor. It's intangible. You know, it's kind of just like this. It's this presentation they sell tickets for every year, and it's true. You know what I mean? And not to sully what it represents. Yeah, to, you know, to other people that would love to have the opportunity to be, you know, acknowledged in that regard. It's just. I totally get her position on it, and as well as she's already been honored 2 years ago in the Luthez Hall of Fame. So it's like, screw it then, you know.
And it was good to get her point of view because for years I don't think we had that until yesterday. And it's not been just her kids.
I mean,
yeah.
Here, okay. I'm gonna play the devil's advocate for a little bit here because here's the thing.
This is where it gets toxic.
Here's the thing. I don't know. Thank God I don't know what she went through. I mean, I can't put myself in her situation. I understand. I do wanting to blame this company for that. I get that. But you did more than just attack them. Like, and it's not even attack. You did more than held it against them. You turned your children. You turned Owen's kids against his own family. And I know the way that they painted the story to everyone is that the Harts went against her. But I've heard a lot of different sides, and I've even heard Brett who says I wouldn't know my own nephew and niece if I had to pick them out because they aren't allowed to see me.
Yeah.
That hurts on a whole other level. You know, it's like blame the WWF. That's one company. You took away wrestling. You took away your Hart dynasty. He was Owen Hart. He was the prince of the Hart dynasty. You guys got to understand, they are royalty in wrestling. That's far more than just WWF. So you took your children, turned them, and they don't even know what they are to an entire world. The Harts are royalty, and in Canada, they're gods. And your kids don't even know that. Your kids resent wrestling. And that's my problem. Like, hate the WWF all you want. I get it.
Because it was the daughter that said that she was real critical.
And
I was like,
wrestling.
And I'm like, okay, so we're never going to see any of you guys in the ring ever. I'm like,
that's my issue.
And I hear that Oj is quite an athlete in certain aspects.
I'm sure.
And I've heard different people talk about it, but that was kind of probably the most disheartening part of it too. Is like seeing how they blame. I mean, because it's like, I'm not saying they're blaming us as fans, but we are a part of that, umbrella of what wrestling represents because we're very much part of the show too. So it's like, it is insane because especially I wonder what they thought when they saw that much people showing up for their dad's service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when they were 3 years old and 7 years old when it happened, so they have no real grasp of who their dad really was and what he means for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that was reason alone to let it go and let him be honored, but it's insane. What do you call it?
Even during the service, like the people that were there, like Hogan was there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there, dude.
Jericho talks about that in his book. Jericho that never got to meet Owen Hart was able to go to this funeral. You know,
and how much Jericho idolized Owen, even knowing not meeting him, and the fact that Jericho came to WWE 2 months later.
Yeah. He was negotiating.
Yeah.
Jericho even said it on that, but he says it in his book so many times. Jericho planned on being a tag team. It was in his head. You know, he never met Owen, but he always said, me and him are going to be a tag team. Me and him are going to do this. And then, the first time he sees him in person is his funeral.
And, and it's even crazy when Jericho put that into perspective. If this doesn't happen to Owen, all the guys that literally
were
came into the company,
Owen and Kurt Angle.
That year, Owen and Kurt, Owen and Eddie.
All these Eddie, everyone coming in.
Chris said he felt like Owen would have had a resurgence of his career.
Oh, I absolutely agree to that.
If that didn't happen.
Dude, Owen versus Kurt would have been so great. So great.
That would have been dope to see because as a kid, I knew Owen because of his run, in the Nation of Domination, shit like that. I didn't know fully about Owen's legacy until I got older.
I'm a nugget.
I love. And this goes back to literally if you watch the tribute show on Raw to Owen, Mick Foley talks about his two kids at the time, two children. Now he has 4. But at the time, his two kids' favorite wrestler was Owen Hart, and they would chant "Nugget," but they would think that they were praising him. They didn't know. They didn't know that was an insult, and so literally they would be like, "Nugget, Nugget," and Foley would have to be like, "Guys, I know that he's your favorite, but that's not cool to
that's
him."
Not, he doesn't like that.
Man, I didn't see it. I'm catching up for you guys. That's why I'm sitting here just quiet, yeah.
I mean, you know the story. You know that Martha obviously has held a resentment, and good for her for it. You know, why would you not? I mean,
I think. Do you guys think that there's any chance? I mean, I don't think now, especially with this coming out now, I don't think there's any chance she budges on that. I mean,
no.
Does he need to go in the Hall of Fame? You guys
Never.
I mean,
It would have been nice if there was a way to get him as the Hart Foundation.
That would have been great because they could have honored him and Pillman at the same time.
Yes.
And just had, instead of having everyone like, oh, what's up with, and Bulldog,
Yeah.
they didn't have to, everyone always asking, oh, when's him going and when is British, all this, you know what I mean? They could have just done it all in one swoop.
Last I heard about that is they had that idea. She still was like, nope.
No.
Like they have to give her blessing completely to ever.
I wonder if like some of those family members were some of the people that turned on her. Maybe
that's what she implies. And
does it explain why they need her permission?
I mean, she owns
the rights, I believe.
It's all left to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, the writing and like his image.
What I will say, I'm not going to say that she's lying at all. She's telling her side of the story. There's no lies in that. But what I'm going to say is, it's a little ironic that Brett didn't show up to be interviewed on this episode.
100%.
Yeah, I thought there were more to Brett
story
for at least this one.
Well, did you read that story online?
Oh, yeah.
About Brett and her. She blames Brett for using the death of Owen for him to try to get his footage back from his documentary.
Now Brett's a lot of things. Here's the thing. But I've read his book, and he doesn't lie in it because he comes off as an asshole in it. But in the book, straight up, Brett was arguing for those rights since the Montreal Screwjob.
Yep.
That was nothing new at the time. Now she's claiming he used the death as leverage, which to a certain extent, how could he not? As gross as that sounds, I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah.
He was already in the middle of this, and then this happens. You're gonna.
You're talking about the footage from the camera crew that was following him around?
No, Brett wanted to own all of his own footage. And
shit.
When Vince broke the 20-year contract, that was something that Vince actually agreed upon. And then quickly took that back.
Okay, that makes sense.
And originally,
sounds like Vince.
And this comes from Brett because I was watching like different like interviews last night after the Dark Side of the Ring. Brett even states that Vince offered him a deal at the funeral of Owen Hart.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's what I was wondering too.
That's ridiculous, man.
What was Brett feeling seeing Vince at his brother's funeral? Like, I guess he probably knew most of the details at that point.
Didn't they show up in a WWE like truck or something? Like they had something with the logo on it.
Vince brought a camera.
Yeah, and I was like, come on, dude.
Vince brought a camera crew, like all this stuff. Like, what was Brett like? Because like I'm almost certain that was the first time he saw Vince.
That's true.
Well, it's because if you follow Martha's story, like she's stating that the Hart family wanted to keep a good relationship with Vince.
Yeah.
Because you never knew which next generation.
That they would have a working relationship throughout the family, and they didn't want to blur those lines. So, I mean, Brett just had to keep his mouth shut for one of those situations. It was one of those. Yeah, you got mad at the Montreal Screwjob the night of, but don't make a scene with all of Canada watching at the funeral. I think Brett, again, like Vince approached Brett and offered him a deal. And according to Martha, Brett the whole time was positioning himself for a settlement and also asking Martha to tell WWE that he wants his footage back only. So, I mean, it blurs the lines a lot, man. I could see the Hart family wanting that as well. I don't see that outside of the realm of impossible.
Yeah.
I could see that. Knowing Brett and seeing Brett for all these years in past interviews, I could see Brett wanting to do that as well. It's just an impossible situation.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, Teddy Hart was signed. They don't talk about that. Teddy Hart was the youngest signee. He was signed during the Montreal Screwjob.
I never knew that.
But he's messed it up too many times.
It's just weird because I couldn't, I'm not putting it past Brett because I'm a Shawn Michaels fan, but but it's one of those things where it's like, what is Brett going to do with that footage? You know what I mean? Like,
it's just about owning,
owning their masters, pretty much. Like
as Scott Hall tells the story, Bret Hart's mansion is a shrine to him.
I heard about this. Yeah, he's just a mark for himself.
Brett would own all his footage. Brett would have he would have all his matches on every screen. You know,
every room has a different match going on.
Man.
Damn, even his match with Goldberg? Fuck.
Yep.
I'm sure that's on like a corner camera. He's like, look what he did.
If you remember, like in 2006, they released a full Bret Hart documentary.
Yep.
Which was the original idea of what Bret wanted to do, but he wanted to do that out of the company. He wanted
the money for himself.
He wanted to put his own spin on his career, basically.
Yeah, but when WWE approached him with the Hall of Fame, that's what situated them to do the Bret Hart doc that they released that year. But look, man, my point of view is still that like I can't really blame her for feeling the way.
I don't. No, I get it. I get where she's coming from. I'm just offering some.
Especially with the way it was presented, especially with the show continuing, especially when you have people that worked for that company, like The Godfather, like JR.
I just wish they got a chance. The kids got a chance to know what the Hart name really meant. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I totally
wrestling in total. Like that's a shame. No. That's like one takeaway. It's like,
well, and that's what I'm saying. Like they don't even realize that they're dynasty.
Yeah, because outside of walking up to the catwalk, I mean, they don't really have any idea of you know what I mean, what their dad really did, and it's I don't know, it's crazy. It's just real crazy. Because
the shitty thing is that we're never gonna know what Owen truly wanted. Like that's
we won't.
And that's the only thing that was fuzzy for me, because in one instance you hear someone say that he did practice it, and then Godfather said he watched him practice it, but then Martha's saying that he was going to, but he didn't. And when they were going to, he was nowhere to be found because he was supposedly smoking.
Story about that shit too, didn't you? Like of a difference, like.
I've heard the story that they asked him while he was on a smoke break, and that's not a bad thing, but he's on a smoke break and they're trying to get him to practice, and he's going, I'm okay. And they kept trying, and then from what I hear, and again, this could be W's spin, but Vince was the one that tried it. Now, why I believe this is because a few weeks ago, Vince threw himself off Stanford.
Yeah, for Gronk.
Vince practices every stunt, and that's very well known. Like he's an asshole. He's out of his mind.
Well, yeah, I've seen
and then when Road Warrior Animal says he took the Doomsday device to the titty bar, it kind of makes.
I mean, he even there's pictures of, and you know, obviously we have some Athevers here have a history with the Honda Center, aka the Airhead Pond. There's pictures of Vince in the harness doing the Shawn Michaels entrance.
Oh yeah,
and you know what I mean.
There's a giant picture of him in the security office.
Exactly.
Like he's on the harness, like down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Shawn is.
And it could have been him that day.
It absolutely could have.
It's just weird because I heard the similar story that Saint did, but I heard that he was like, I'll be okay. But when they told him they were working with a different kind of harness, that's when supposedly he said, okay, I will do it. Yeah. But that's the first I heard about Vince being the one supposedly.
Look, it was just a bunch of negligence. It was a theme that could have avoided, but wasn't. It was it just depends how you look at it. I don't blame Martha and the kids for having that feel.
And just the way Vince kind of reacted to the situation kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit too. I mean,
I get that.
He definitely took a page out of Trump's playbook when he was attacking the media for asking him about it. You know?
I don't think I appreciate it too.
I kind of do like the way he came off during that though, because it wasn't. I get your comparison, but he was being attacked, and he said, "Well, first of all, I don't like your nose," and like that to me is just like such a Vince McMahon move, and I'm like, all right. Like,
the question wasn't even that ridiculous for him to get that. I'm like,
no, that's why I was like, he's just so bad right now. He's just so bothered. He's like, I don't want to deal with this.
Like, bro, you didn't have to get that defensive. Like, she wasn't.
Bro, but her like response back a bit, I don't like your sarcasm. I was like, damn.
I was like, shots fired. I was just like, okay, she's like, she ain't no pushover. I don't care what you on TV, sir.
One more note about that episode. It was the highest rated, most viewed Dark Side of the Ring in their history. So obviously a lot of people.
I'm almost certain. Yeah, like because I think that was a story everybody wanted to finally know about.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
how could they not?
Yeah, 100%. It's been such a mystery in so long. Again, like there was several missing pieces to. All we knew was WWE's narrative, more or less loosely, right? So.
Yeah, the fact that it was it happened live on a pay-per-view, man.
Yeah.
What, 15,000 people saw it happen, but you don't know how it happened, you don't know why, like what were the causes. You still kind of don't really know.
No,
either.
and I've heard everything from, which again they didn't even claim any of this. I've heard that his what's it called? His cape.
The cape? Yeah, I heard about the cape too.
Weighed more this day than usual. I've heard things about feathers from the cape stalling the latch. There's multiple theories and stories that they didn't even talk about. Which why would they? Because
that's what I heard was the cape one too. Yeah. It was very popular. Kind of, not to be grim, but it was kind of like the whole Superman cape sort of thing, and I was like, shit, that's crazy, But the harness was something I thought was a potential, but again, because I'm a Shawn Michaels fan, I'm like, no, Shawn was great. Shawn did it, no problem. But not to be a dick. I'm a kid,
But and again, Shawn was essentially in a swing. Owen,
that's true.
Very different.
That's true.
Shawn's was a lot more secure than Owen.
And that was weird.
And a diagonal wire.
And it was in Anaheim, not Kansas City.
What was weird is how they were saying that they had started having Owen do that to parody Sting. Wasn't that kind of weird?
It's a little,
Because I didn't get that at all.
No, I never understood that one, but they were saying, they were just trying to mimic Sting coming down. I'm like, well, that's two different things, too. Sting essentially just slid down Ghostbuster
Sting
style.
Just dropped down,
100% Ghostbuster style.
Back and forth until he, flew down like a bird. That's the biggest difference. It's just a shame, and I think Jericho made it very, detailed about how that's avoided, man. I think Owen Hart has just a totally different career, just with all the amount of talent in there. Had he survived
There's no way that, considering the things that were coming in years after, I mean, even if you go as far as to think if he was around during the brand extension, there's no way Owen Hart wouldn't have been a heavyweight champion. No way.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would have absolutely...
He would have won a Rumble at some point and gone.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, to be honest, outside of someone like Stone Cold, and probably King Booker, I'd have to say hands down the best King of the Ring. Dude, because I didn't like Owen. I didn't like Owen, right, as a in-ring guy right away as a kid, because I was all about the good guys and the bad guys and the character work. But his character work was what would crack me up. I always remember him at the Slammies and how he stole Bulldog's Slammy award, and I was thinking about him he did that shit as a shoot. Because you see British Bulldog just cracking up the whole time. And he's just like, I won! Woo! I'm like, bro, this guy's unreal. The Hours was drawn into his, and then they had the whole Jason the Sensation thing with they made fun of DX and the Nation of Domination thing. Yeah. But honestly, that was the one thing I never thought about until they brought it up, was the influx of talent coming in at that time. And the possible
renaissance for
100%. Yeah, he again, even if him and Kurt would have teamed, I think that would have been a comedy tag team gold right there too.
There's pictures of Owen wrestling Kurt Angle in a dark match.
Yeah.
What? Oh, man.
And Kurt was in the black tights, huh?
Yep.
Oh, damn. Okay.
This is the Monday before the freaking pay-per-view, man. That they wore the dark match on Raw. Kurt Angle versus Owen Hart.
Damn.
That tells you that, look, he was in line for a renaissance of the Owen Hart character. Put it this way, they would have
absolutely
done the Chris Benoit Royal Rumble storyline with Owen way before they did it with Benoit. I really do think they would have done that.
Imagine Benoit and Owen Hart. That would have been an amazing.
That would have been great too.
Two of Canada's best.
It would have changed a lot of the landscape in the wrestling world. But that's all I have this week for the wide world of wrestling. I know we have a major, huge announcement, so I'm going to pass it off to Saint and Wallace so they can give you this huge breaking news, this history-making moment.
Is it all right if I take this one, RJ? I know that we've been in all.
Hey, you did the hard work in setting it up. Take it.
All right. So, guys, something exciting here. And let's play on what we just said, because I'm going to say one thing first. For the first time in 20 years, Owen Hart is getting merchandise. The first time in 20 years, Owen Hart has merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees. That's an amazing move. And I know that they signed it with Dark Side of the Ring as well. Very cool stuff. what I want all the fans of GCF to now do is go to prowrestlingtees.com/follow-the-Fed because Gold Coast Federation is now partnered with Pro Wrestling Tees as well.
Yes,
you can get our first 2 shirts up right now. We have you've all seen the official GCF shirt. You can get that on Pro Wrestling Tees. You can also get a very cool, we call it our athletic department because it's GCF Wrestling Department and established 2018. I am very excited for this, guys. You wanted merch, and we tried to get it for you at shows, but some things are So what better way than to go through Pro Wrestling Tees' #1 site for wrestling shirts in the world. That's prowrestlingtees.com/follow-the-Fed.
And if you use the code MEMORIAL, you get 20% off of your order.
Going down
Memorial Day sale.
I believe that's Friday through Sunday. Through Sunday, yes, sir. Memorial Day sale. 20% off.
So get your GCF shirts.
Right in time
you even get 20% off of them. We got merch now. So stop getting in the comments and asking
far
us
more shirts
for
are
merch.
coming, by the way, guys.
Oh, yes.
We couldn't have done this without you guys. I should say that. I am very excited for this. I love moving forward. I thought that it was going to be a little harder to negotiate, and let me tell you, Pro Wrestling Tees is awesome. This was more than just signing up. I should tell you that too. So thank you to Pro Wrestling Tees. Thank you to all the fans of GCF. Now go get some merch because the more you buy, the more shirts we can put out for you. And I know Tej wants a T-shirt. I know Hollywood. Maybe we get the announce team across the T-shirt, guys. The more GCF merch you buy, the more merch we make for you. Remember that. I know RJ wants some do-rags for sale.
Hey, we gonna make it happen. We gonna get blunt.
I know. I can tell you that the investors shirt is coming very soon. If you love me, and why would you not? You're gonna get yourself an investor
Our design team is working very hard on getting these designs ready, but y'all gonna buy some shirts before we can release some new designs.
But maybe some Missing the Mark shirts, possibly in the future.
Mats
and Marks. You know? And you know what? You might want to go and make sure you explore those long sleeve options as well with these additional 3 months in quarantine. By the time
might be a little chilly.
Might be a little bit chilly by the time you can legally be out of the quarantine zone.
But Christmas all over again. Who knows?
You know what I mean? And even better, it'll probably be another sub by then. And make sure you grab some for the kids, the fam, the grandparents, everything. GTF is for everybody. Follow the Fed.
Yes,
Once again, guys, that is prowrestlingtees.com/follow-the-Fed.
Yeah.
That was my major announcement. However, guys, if you are following the news, and me and RJ have talked very close about this, if you're following the news, the governor has said, and we'll see if he's true or not, as of June 1st, we should be legally allowed to put on sporting events that have no fans. If he's a man of his word, RJ, you can make this too. If he's a man of his word, we're coming back to you as soon as we can. By that, I'm gonna say this: keep your Junes open, because if we're available June 1st to wrestle, then keep maybe the 3rd week, not 100% yet, but keep your June open. Look at your 3rd week option in June.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're ready to get rocking and rolling again. This is good news.
We have looked up every streaming possible, guys. So while you might not be able to see us live, I mean, it's not a might. You won't be able to see us live, but we're gonna find out other ways for you to see us. If we're gonna stream, and we're gonna get you these guys. I've got 2 champs right now that haven't defended their belts in quite some time. Helmuth has never defended his title. What are we gonna do about that? I'm just saying, it's about time. And we got to crown some tag team champions finally. So
yes, we do, man.
Keep your Junes open. Keep your Julys open. We're going to get you some wrestling action very soon.
It's gonna be a hot summer for GCF.
Yeah, and as always,
we're going to be
make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, because I'm sure We'll be sharing a lot of footage here on GCF exclusively, so you're not going to want to miss all of that footage that's going to be shown, all the things that we have coming your way. A lot of stuff in the works right now. Very proud to be part of this company because we didn't sit on our ass, man. This pandemic could have easily taken us out and made us get all lazy and just drunks. I mean, we're already drunks as it is. I mean, you people watch the long.
I'm weaning myself slowly off the white claw.
We've all
If anything,
but at least
drunken,
giving you
if
guys
anything, the
content.
drunkenness has made us more productive. That's
Yeah.
what it's done.
Oh,
It's always made me more
Getting the creative juices flowing as you will with the libations.
yeah, man.
Now you all know what it's like to be me.
Yes.
All the time.
Vicariously, that's what's been going on here.
Pandemic
We're
TJ.
hats,
is the
dude,
same
you
TJ.
guys wearing shades. It's catching on.
Yeah, man. So yeah, the two huge news. We promised one, and we gave y'all two big announcements. As always, that link will be in the description. So make sure you go check it out so you can go buy an exclusive GCF merchandise, the first of its kind on a major website. I'm telling you, that is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. That link will be in the description. It will be all over our social medias. And again, we will be coming out with exclusive wrestling content as well in the very, very near future. Look, we have a lot of ideas and a lot of plans. Do we have any Q&As for this week?
I didn't have any. Once again,
Yeah,
guys,
I
send
didn't
us
have any
Q&As.
questions.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
I think everybody was just
tell you
asking.
what, for the guys watching now, why don't you send us what shirt designs, whose T-shirt in GCF you want to see, you want to buy. So
There
tell
you
us
go.
that, and then send us some wrestling questions as well, guys.
It's probably more wrestlers asking questions about the announcement, no?
Oh,
Probably.
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there'll be a bunch asking who's got next. I know a lot of people are ready and starving to get back
Yeah, man.
into a GCF ring especially. So I know a lot of you guys have a question about that. And hey, look, if you have a question, put it in the comment section. We will definitely feature you and answer that question exclusively
Absolutely.
on this podcast. And as things ease up, then we'll be back in the studios like always and being able to do it live like we usually are. But for in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, does anybody have anything else to say or plug before we close this episode off?
ProWrestlingTees.com/follow the Fed.
WrestlingTees.com/follow the Fed.
You don't need an incognito
Yes.
window for that.
That actually
I
might
mean,
stop the order. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. I don't think you'd be able to do that. Are we getting a TJ Suave OnlyFans account soon? Is that?
Well, I'm always open to it.
We gotta make that happen at some point, ladies and gentlemen. Link is in.
Got to. We got to get that OnlyFans sponsorship. You feel me?
Just me?
Look at
I
that
mean,
face.
I would hope you bring
Chris.
people. I mean, I would hope you bring people along with you, but that.
Oh,
that's,
okay.
That's,
To bring my usual business to the OnlyFans.
yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Day in the life of TJ
I
Suave.
want you to name the next show GCF Presents Lonely Fans.
We're on to something here.
It's
Come
actually a possibility. It could happen.
The pieces are there. The pieces are
TJ
there.
Suave presents.
TJ
Yeah.
Suave. TJ Suave
I'll throw down all the
presents.
money for that one.
All right.
Hey, I'll get one more time, please.
ProWrestlingTees.com/follow the Fed. Or go to Pro Wrestling Tees and type in Gold Coast Federation. But there you go.
There you go. Link in the description, ladies and gentlemen. That has been the huge announcement. 2 for the price of 1. Link in the description. Comment down below your questions. This has been episode number 6 of Missing the Mark podcast.